wherever we are at in the States. It's just really cool and magical to me. I am currently in Arizona right now, over in the office. I work for Pace, so I'm a part of the Pace Morby team. That's why I am your host and moderator for today. But really, this show is all about Richard and Mitch today. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves a little bit and then go ahead and give you some insight into what it takes to run a real estate business. So take it away.
Go ahead, Rich.
Thank you guys. It's a blessing. I'm so grateful to be here with you guys today. I see so many beautiful and familiar faces in the chat. Juliet, Kevin, Marlon. Oh my God, we got some gold heavy hitters up in here. California's in the building, Santa Barbara, LA, Ohio. I love it. I love it. All right, so Mitch and Rich, we have a big presentation for you guys. We prepared some slides, but we want you guys to ask questions as we go along. We want this to be engaging. So if you have any questions at all through this presentation, please just feel free to ask in the chat. So without further ado, let me share my, Alex, would you mind letting me share my screen? It says I can't present. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not able to share my screen just yet. I don't know if she's still here. Is she here, Alexandra? She's backstage. While I'm talking to Alexandra, Mitch, would you want to introduce yourself while I get Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. Afternoon, everybody. Mitch Roye here. Please forgive my voice. I'm literally getting over the worst cold, the flu A. I've been in bed for the last week, so doing my best to talk here. So we'll get through it in an hour. First, I want to thank Alex for the opportunity to be with you today. We appreciate that. And also want to thank all of you for spending your day with us today. And most importantly, I want to thank Pace for everything he has done to make all of this possible. None of this would be possible without him. A little bit about me. For those of you who know, I am a former management consultant. I did that back in the 80s and 90s. I started investing full-time in real estate in 2001. So I've been doing this full-time for the past 24 years. My background is in note trading, been a sub-2 mentorship leader. It's going on 5 years now. It'll be 5 years in May, I believe. Rich and I started the Southern California region back 5 years ago. And my background is in single and multifamily development, ground up construction, fix and flips, cash flow, rentals, and creative finance. And that being said, I've been doing this for a while. And I mean this, a lot of you have heard me say this. I consider myself the perpetual newbie. And what I mean by that is I'm learning and growing every single day. I'm learning something new every day. And a lot of the things that Rich and I and others have done even a year ago, we're not doing anymore. The market is continually changing. So we're always learning and growing, and looking forward to learning more with you and working with you. All right, Rich, you're up, brother.
I love it. I love it. All right, so my name is Richard. I'm actually a software engineer. I went to grad school for computer engineering, and I work for Fortune 500 companies, which is going great. But I realized that real estate is really my passion, something I've always wanted to do. So I became a private money lender back in 2018 by partnering fix and flippers, and going very well. But I realized that fix and flipping, that's something that I really want to do. That's something I'm very passionate about. I mean, we only live once, right? So you want to do something that you actually enjoy doing. So I shifted over to Airbnb, and we made over 6 figures through timeshare arbitrage. So that was doing very well until COVID hit in March of 2020. So we took a huge hit with COVID. So then I kind of exited the Airbnb business and joined Pace Morby's community, and honestly, it's changed my life. To be honest, you know, it's one of the biggest decisions I've ever made that had the biggest impact on my life. You know, getting married, going to college, and joining sub-2. You know, and I'm dead serious. Like, this is like changed my life. So I'm very grateful to be here, part of the community, and so many beautiful friendships and brotherhoods and sisterhoods that I joined through Sub2. So, and thankfully with Pace, Mitch and I were one of the first 100 people to join Sub2. So we learned a lot, and we've done a lot of creative deals since 2020, almost 5 years now. So we became one of the regional leaders of Southern California for Sub2. We also got featured in Pace Movie's book on page 150 for one of the most creative deals that Pace has ever seen. So if you have that book, please check it out. Check it out. All right. So next, we'll get into real estate business components. Mitch, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, sure. When we're talking about real estate investing and wholesaling and all that we do, if you really break it down, it can break it down into 5 different chunks: lead generation, underwriting, closing, dispositions, and marketing. Pretty simple. And, a lot of new students will come to us and say, I don't know where to start. What do I do? What we tell them is typically you're probably not going to be underwriting and closing to start. You might want to start with lead generation. But like Richard and I did, learn a little bit about every one of those to see what you A, love, and B, are really good at. And once you find what you're good at and really enjoy doing, start diving deep. And the components that you're not good at or don't enjoy, that's where you want to partner. Aside from Pace and Morby, most of us cannot do all 5 of these excellently well. Maybe you can do 2 or 3. Partner with people. This is a partner business and a people business. Find out what you love doing, what you're great at, dive deep, partner with people who are less, bring the skills that you don't have. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give you a high level overview of each of these 5 components, what's involved, and how you can move from phase 1 to phase 5. And with that, we're going to turn it back to Rich, who's going to talk to us about lead generation.
Thank you, Mitch. I like the way you talk, man. You talk, so articulate and so welcoming. I love it. I love it.
That's the Dayquil I'm on.
All right. So lead generation. So lead generation is honestly, arguably one of the most important things or components of your business. Right. Without leads, you don't have any business. Right. Typically in any industry, leads generate revenue. Typically, right, it's the funnel to generate revenue. Right. So I'll talk about 2 different lead generation strategies, which is direct to agent and direct to seller. Right. For direct to agent, there's many ways to generate leads from agents, but these are the 4 that I will touch on. So one is, of course, pull a list of realtors in your market that you're working. So pull phone numbers, emails for local real estate agents. There's a lot of third-party tools where you can buy agent lists and brokers lists and with the phone number and email, right? You can also go on realtor.com and scrape all of the realtors in that market as well. Even the top agents, it tells you who are the top agents in that market, right? So that data is publicly available for you guys. So, and it's free. It's totally free. So there's no excuse to not get leads from agents, okay? Second thing on the bottom, scrape MLS or use APIs. So like I said before, I'm a software engineer, so I use a lot of tech and AI and things like that to generate leads or to simplify or automate a lot of components in the business, right? If you guys are not using AI today, you are falling behind. So I recommend you guys do some research on AI, see how you can incorporate AI into your businesses, okay? So one of the things I do with AI is, or at least my scrapers, is to pull a list of realtors in any market as I wish. It's automated, so I don't have to do it manually. Manually scrape all the data, and I pull on market listings as well through some APIs that I have access to. So I can get access to any MLS data anywhere nationwide, right? So I take that data, and on the third bullet there, county records. I basically use county records or PropStream or PropWire maybe, or batch leads, any third-party tool where I can pull a list of distressed properties, right? So those properties aggregate data from county records, whether it's divorce, pre-foreclosure, tax liens, you name it. So I want to indicate which properties that are on market have a underlying pain point. Right? So that's basically what I'm doing with the county records. Okay, so then I stack them up. So a lot of times when you go on MLS and you see a property on the market, you don't know the underlying pain point or motivation behind the seller, why they're selling. So sometimes so what I do is I import the MLS listings into PropStream and other sources, county records, and kind of cross-reference and determine which ones are listed on the market and have some kind of pain point. And those are the ones that I prioritize, right? If there's a million MLS listings on the market, I don't want to call all 1 million records, right? I want to call the ones that have a higher chance of converting into a contract. So that's basically the smart way to generate leads. You really have to get smart, work smarter, not harder, right? So utilize software tools, stack your data, and be smart. So second thing is direct to seller. So of course, a lot of people do this method is to pull niche lists, pre-foreclosure, divorce, probate, tax delinquent, etc. And then skip trace, meaning that you pay to get the phone number for that record, and then contact them by cold calling, texting, direct mail, door knocking, right? Door knocking is a very great strategy because a lot of times, especially pre-foreclosures, people are changing their phone numbers so quickly because they are getting contacted by so many different people. So door knocking seems to work very well for pre-foreclosures, and it's also free, right? All you have to pay for is gas, essentially, right? So you don't have to skip trace. You just get a list of pre-foreclosures or tax liens or whatever list you're pulling, and door knock. I know it can be a little bit scary door knocking, but you're getting face to face with the seller, and it can make the seller more comfortable because they're actually speaking to someone face to face versus on the phone. On the phone, people are cold calling. There's a lot of scammers, people saying, "Oh, I'm a debt collector," you're fraud, all that kind of stuff, right? So people are losing trust over the phone. But if you're face to face when door knocking, you have a great chance of converting that lead. Third is pay per lead. So a pay per lead is basically websites like LeadZolo, I Speak to Lead, or motivatedsellers.com, where you can basically buy inbound leads. So these companies run PPC, pay per click ads, to basically attract people to inquire about a cash offer or an offer on the home, right? And basically with pay per lead, instead of having to do your own marketing, you pay for the leads that was generated by those companies, right? And depending on what market you're in, prices can vary. Sometimes it's $20, sometimes it's $100. Here in Southern California, you're looking at maybe 200, 400. San Diego right now, I think it's about 700 sometimes. So it could be very expensive, but the conversion ratio for pay per lead is much higher than cold calling, because cold calling is outbound, is cold calling, right? Versus pay per lead is hot inbound leads, right? So, and the fourth is leveraging referrals, right? So build relationships with lenders, attorneys, or even bird dogs. People can go out and find distressed properties, driving for dollars, and things like that, right? And ask them to refer properties or clients to you, right? So attorneys like divorce attorneys or probate attorneys, right? Emailing or calling these people or these attorneys is free, right? There's no cost to that, right? Type in probate attorney, and then you get a list of attorneys in that area, or web pages, yellow pages, websites like that. It's all free. It's everything. There's so much information publicly available, right? There's no excuse to not get leads from these sources. Okay, and you can even take a step further and leverage AI to generate leads from these relationships that you're putting out. Let them do all the cold calling, the cold emails, all that kind of stuff, right? Because with AI, especially voice AI, it's a little bit frowned upon when calling business to consumer, right? But business to business, it's a lot more lenient, right? So there's less complications and regulations against that, right? So you can definitely use AI to talk to other businesses or contact other businesses, right? So I know that was a little bit fast, but if anybody have any questions so far, I want to touch on before I pass it back to Mitch.
Rich, what's your favorite lead generation?
My favorite lead generation is hard to say. Anything that's automated, essentially, using AI to automate. AI can do a lot of marketing, a lot of branding, a lot of outreach, a lot of automated responses to emails, and even qualify a lead, generate a score for that lead. So you can rate a lead from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. 1 meaning that's a cold lead, 5 or 10 meaning that's a hot lead, right? So you can have AI kind of do all the heavy lifting for you until it gets to a certain point, and then at that point you can transfer to acquisitions. And yeah, I like it. Donovan says my favorite lead is one that converts. I love it. Yeah, so AI can actually help you with that, right? Do the initial outreach, do all the follow-ups, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's perfect. All right, so Mitch,
Good,
back over
good.
to you.
And I want to add a couple things on there. What, and I've done these too with Rich. What I've started doing and I've had a lot of success with is I go direct to agents and I focus on wholesalers and I train them to literally be my lead generation force. So that way I'm not having to pull lists and make phone calls and hire VAs from the Philippines. I have agents that know my buy box. I have wholesalers that know my buy box. And I even have a form that before they bring me a lead, the lead has to meet these certain criteria. That way, I'm not wasting their time, the seller's time, my time, and we get qualified leads. And I'm not doing that because, again, as I said earlier, I want to focus on what I'm good at and what I love doing, which is underwriting and closing, less so on the lead generation. And so what we're doing is we're segmenting the different parts of the business to make it more effective and more time efficient.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
the next two components, did you have something, Rich?
No. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Underwriting and closing, I put that under the umbrella of seller communications because they're both part of the same process, overall communications, but I want to separate them out because they are very different functions. So let's start with underwriting. So once you get the leads, now you're going to, and assuming the person is interested, I want to talk to you about what I see as the 6 components of underwriting. The first component is mindset. And again, this is how I operate. Everyone does it differently. When I get on the phone with a seller, I am not a salesperson and I am not an investor, literally. I am a problem solver. And that's how I look at it. And that probably comes from my former career as a consultant. I'm not trying to sell them anything. I'm really trying to understand what it is they're trying to do. And there's often times where I'll say, ma'am, it's best that you either do this as a FISBO or call an agent. I'm not the right resource right off the bat. So I'm looking for people with problems that are not easily solved. That's really what I'm doing. Second component is the first call with the seller. This is key. In this call, this is what I do, what I call building rapport, trust, and credibility. And the theory being you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So when I talk about rapport, you're showing the seller who you are, you're demonstrating your credibility, not by reading off your resume list, but by asking good questions, making a connection with them, and this is a skill you can learn. Anytime you talk with a seller, no matter who they are or where they are, I guarantee you can find something in common. I talked to a gentleman last week from Boston. I said, Boston, I was just at Faneuil Hall about 3 months ago, and we just went on a riff for about 5 minutes. That makes them feel comfortable versus the hard sales tactics that a lot of people do. So that's important. Also, I would encourage you to have a go-giver attitude, wanting to help, but also creating a win-win, always looking for that. Third component is the focus of the conversation. Me, typically, I'm there to listen and learn on the first conversation, and sometimes even the second. So typically, I'm asking questions maybe 20, 30% of the time. They're doing 70% of the talking. I let them talk. I don't interrupt them. I ask them questions to really probe and understand. And what are my objectives? What am I trying to do here? I really want to understand what are their needs, their wants, their problems, their challenges. In other words, what they want, why, how, when, and where, what solutions they tried and or haven't tried. As an example, I don't know if Moses Garcia is in here. We were on a call with a Los Angeles broker looking at a multifamily property that's been on the market for over a year. And we were just having an initial conversation. And I asked the agent, I said, have you gotten a lot of creative offers? And he said, not really. And I was kind of surprised, but not really, because you don't see a lot of that right now in commercial. But that's the kind of stuff you want to ask and find out about. So now I can provide something that very few others have done. And I'm very confident we can come up with a solution for that. So your primary objectives are really to take your notes, understand what the seller is looking to do, how, when, where, and why. The next component I call sensitivity testing. What is negotiable and what is non-negotiable? And even before that, as part of this, you want to understand for the seller, are they a need to sell or a want to sell? Those are two different things. A need to sell is I got a job transfer. I'm moving to North Carolina next week, or I lost my job and I'm in foreclosure. You don't have a choice. You have to sell. That's a very motivated seller versus the gentleman up in LA, 80-year-old gentleman. He's worth bazillions of dollars. The agent said, he really doesn't need to sell. I put that in my mind, and I'll talk more about why that is later because it's something Rich touched on. As you do this after a number of years, you're going to learn that your time is your most valuable asset, and you really want to rule out leads very quickly so you don't waste your time. Ask me how we've learned that the hard way. So sensitivity testing. Hey, Mr. Knowles, you're looking to sell your house. Are you looking for a cash offer, sir, or would you be open to something creative? In other words, sir, are you wanting more money, less money today, which is cash, or more money tomorrow? Would you be open to something creative? If I can get you more money and meet all your objectives. I want to hear him say, absolutely no way would I ever do subject to. No way in a million years. Okay, great. I'll probably hit it again in our second or third call, but at least I know for now, I'm not going to underwrite my first couple options on that. I'm going to find out what he wants. So what's negotiable, what's non-negotiable? Sensitivity test on cash, creative, terms. How long will they go for a balloon? What kind of an interest rate? All of the different components. And again, we're at a very high level here at 100,000 foot. There's a lot more than this, but we have an hour. Solution development. All right, last one. Very, very important. To me, I see creative finance is really an art form. If you think about it, creative finance, the building blocks that we have learned as being part of the mentorship is like an alphabet. You've got your alphabet, A through Z. The letters mean nothing in and of themselves. It's how you put those letters together to create words and language and phrases. The same is true with creative finance. Once you learn the building blocks of creative finance, now you can structure them and mold them and put them together in an infinite number of ways, literally to deliver exactly what the seller wants. So that's what's really important. That's the artistry part of doing the underwriting, creative structuring. Reverse engineer. What do I mean by reverse engineer? I always start from the end and work backwards. So I look at what is the end result we're trying to achieve, whatever that is, and then we start with, okay, great. What do we need to do today? How do we reinvent this solution to create that end point, that point Z? So point Z is the end point. What is point A? Also, something I look at when I'm underwriting is how does the seller, the wholesaler, and the end buyer win? They all have to win. If it's not a win-win-win, it doesn't make sense. We've got to win. If we're the wholesaler or we're the end buyer, the seller has to win. That's important. And when I say win, getting them what they're looking to do. And once you create the win, here's something, we just ran into, again, I'm going to bring up Moses Garcia again. We ran into another solution. We're looking at a property in Long Beach. The seller came back. We created a win in the short term, but the seller wants a balloon that in 3 years would cause the buyer to go upside down on a property. That's not a win. And in good conscience, we cannot sell that to an end buyer because that's a landmine waiting to explode. So when we're looking at these deals, whether we're the buyer or the wholesaler, I'm always looking at, if I was going to buy this, how am I going to make money? Would I do this deal? So that's what's important there. Any questions before we go on there? Questions about any of this?
Somebody had a question. That was great, by the way, Mitch. Somebody had a question. What is a buy box? Do you want to tackle that question?
What is a buy box?
Yeah.
Great question. What is a buy box? A buy box is exactly what you want. So for example, Richard is buying assisted living homes, single family in Los Angeles. So when you talk about a buy box, what is it you're looking to buy? I might be looking for multifamily properties in the Southwest, at least 20 doors, et cetera, et cetera. You might be looking for fix and flips in Omaha, Nebraska. So as you get more experienced in this and you start to buy and hold for yourself, or buy and hold or fix and flip, get very, very clear on what you're looking for so that you can tell people out there what you're looking for. I'm looking for single family houses in Omaha, Nebraska, priced 500,000 and less, at an ARV of 70%, et cetera, et cetera. The more specific you can get, the greater the chance people are going to bring you the exact deals you're looking to get. Great question.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody asked in the chat, Marlon, my guy Marlon asked, what is a balloon? So I can take that one. So a balloon is basically some after some amount of time. So for example, if a seller says, oh, I have 50K in equity, I want to be paid out over 30 years, but with a 10-year balloon, or amortized over 30 years with a 10-year balloon. So what that means, basically, you're amortizing the loan over 30 years versus 10 years, right? So amortized over 30 years with a 10-year balloon versus a 10-year amortization. Why is that? Because you want to keep your monthly payments as low as possible, right? So you rather amortize it as long as possible, and then at 10 years, you pay that homeowner or seller a full lump sum at the end of the 10-year mark. So a balloon is basically a lump sum being paid after a certain period of time, right? Sometimes you can do a balloon or a partial balloon, right? Meaning that, okay, we'll amortize it over 30 years, but I want a partial balloon in 15 years, right? Maybe I want 20K in 15 years, right? I want a big lump sum. So the beauty of creative finance is that you can come up with any terms that you want. You have flexibility between yourself and the seller, right? So that's a good question, Marlon. So that was good.
Any other questions there, Rich?
I think that was the last question. You want to take on
Okay.
closing next?
Good. All right. So let's talk about closing. That's where you make your money. I'll start out by saying I am not a hard closer. I am of the mindset that if you do the whole underwriting 6 components really, really well, a great job in that, your solution will often close the deal for you versus relying on hard sales tactics. A lot of times the seller will say, this completely makes sense. And so I like to take it from that perspective of just being honest and upfront and doing the best job you can, and then letting the seller come back to you and say, that makes sense. Are sellers all going to be honest? No. As Pace always tells us, buyers are liars, sellers are worse, but we have to do our best job. Now, going back to what Rich said earlier about saving time, 5 years ago, when I would get a deal, I would spend hours. I would underwrite it. Seller would say, yeah, I'm interested. I would spend the next 30 hours underwriting every single thing, running comps, spreadsheets to find out that they're not even interested in the offer. I'm like, oh, not going to do that anymore. Now I take the pyramid approach. So the first call is really just an introductory call, learning about what they're open to, doing some sensitivity testing. I don't want to spend a lot of time unless I know my investment in time is going to be worth it. So I start at the top and then go wide and deep based on what they're working on. So again, I use Moses as an example. We were talking to a seller yesterday about a multifamily property before, and that's a very complex property. Before we really start to dig into it, I'm just going to throw a couple trial balloons at the seller. Hey, would you be interested in doing a sub 2? Or given that your loan has a 6-month rate reset based on the SOFR index every 6 months, I don't want that loan. How about you do a DSCR cash out refi, pay off your loan, take some cash out tax free, and then I take that over sub 2 and create a seller carry second. If the broker says, you know what, he might be interested in that. All right, great, game on, green light. Now I'm going to start to dig into this. But if the seller says, no, I don't want to do that, great, I have to go in a different direction. So I would, suggest to people before you spend hours and hours on underwriting and closing, really understand, is it a good deal you want to work with, good that you can help. And it starts with understanding their needs, and everyone has different their motivation, and they're a good fit. Follow up, follow up, follow up. Rich and I can tell you, we've worked on deals together that have taken close to a year. We've talked to the seller and, maybe I'll call you back. It's just the nature of the game. And you have to keep your mind focused and positive. You have to have a lot of irons in the fire, but always follow up. Always, always follow up. Another thing, and I see this from newer students, they get a deal and they send me a deal. Hey, I got a great deal. Just remember, not every opportunity is a deal. Before you look at it and start to underwrite it, run the numbers, be conservative, and know when to walk or to continue, because they're not all good deals. And also, and we've learned this, just because a seller is eager doesn't mean it's a great deal. It's usually the inverse relationship, because the eager ones, if they're really great deals, they're gone pretty quick. Something else, what we look at, I touched on this earlier in underwriting, but when we're closing, how does the end buyer win? So if I'm doing an assignment to a flipper, is there enough meat on the bone for that flipper to do a good deal? If I'm doing it for an owner occupant, is this a good deal that they are going to get a better deal than if they went to Bank of America and got a new loan? Those are the kind of things we're looking at. So closing, again, starts with, if you do your underwriting right and you do a great job, more times than not, it's going to be a pretty easy close. And if not, then it's going to be a harder close. Sometimes you're going to find that a deal just simply doesn't fit. It's not a good lead for you. It's a wholesale lead. You don't want to work on it. Something we started doing recently is consulting. And what is that? So maybe there's not a lot of a spread in there. And so instead of telling Mr. Knowles, hey, Mr. Knowles, I'm the buyer, but if you look on page 14 of my contract, subsection 3-A, it says I can assign it. Let's just cut all that out and just go right to the chase. Hey, Mr. Knowles, look, I'm not the buyer, but I have buyers that might want to buy this. I'm going to underwrite it. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be your consultant. I'm going to work in the background with you, for you. I'm going to charge you a fee of X. And what I'm going to do is underwrite this deal creatively. And then I'm going to shop it out to my buyers and get this deal done. And that way everything is transparent and I'm not creating double closes and paperwork and all that complexity. And that's something we're starting to see much more effective versus the wholesaling model. And so that's where we're at there. Questions on this part?
Yeah, just to add on that real quick. I think consulting works very well with creative finance because creative finance solves problems. That's really what it's for. Cash offer, traditional offers typically don't solve problems. I mean, yes, get a cash offer, you write them out or whatever, but if the seller wants more equity, if the seller doesn't want to pay capital gains taxes, if the seller wants monthly payments, wants mailbox money, traditional methods are not going to solve that problem. Creative finance is the solution. And basically, we are acting, for the most part, in the seller's interest, right? What do they need? What's the problem that they're trying to solve? So we're acting as a consultant, not as a wholesaler. Oh, you want 500K for your property? Oh, I can only do 400K, right? Whereas creative finance, you say, okay, you want 500K? Okay, I can give you 500K, but it just have to be over time, right? So we're solving a problem, we're consulting with them, and they trust us more, and it's a win-win for all parties, right? So consulting is great. So we had a question in the chat. Una, if I pronounce your name correctly, I'm sorry. How do I get connected with wholesalers to increase my inventory? I can take that one. So how to connect with wholesalers? Facebook groups. Number one, Facebook groups, a lot of wholesalers in Facebook groups. One thing I would do is go on Google and type in summer house cash, and then the market that you're looking to buy property or looking to network with wholesalers in. For example, summer house cash, Miami, Florida, right, on Google. And what you see is you'll see some pay-per-click leads, or I'm sorry, results on the top of Google, right? Those are the wholesalers paying money to generate leads, PPC, pay-per-click leads, right? So they have the funds, the money to keep paying for marketing, because PPC is pretty much the highest, most expensive source of lead generation, right? Or marketing. So I would type in summer house cash, whatever market you're in, and contact those wholesalers that are coming up in the sponsored results, right? That's a great way. And those wholesalers are pretty much experienced and they would have great leads for you, right? But majority of them only do cash, right? They don't do creative finance. Right? So you can contact them and say, hey, I love your website. I love what you're doing. I came across your website. Just want to see if you're open to collaborating. I specialize in creative finance. I can help you generate more money in your business, right? It's always important when you're talking to someone, see how you can provide value to them. Instead of saying, hey, can I get your leads? Can I get you their leads? That's not a great way to approach anybody. You have to figure out how can you provide value to these people or to these wholesalers, right? And lead with that value. Next, Lewis asks, have you seen more creative deals in California than years prior? Mitch, you want to take that one?
I want to, I want to answer Adriana's question first. Do you need, when you're doing consulting, do you need an agreement? Absolutely. Typically, we have a consulting agreement we use. You can even use an option agreement. I've used that where I put it in the option. Another question is, what do you charge for your consultation? It could be a few points. I typically don't want to do deals for less than $25,000. It's not worth my time. My theory is I'd rather do one deal and make 100 than do 10 deals and make 10,000. So it's got to be a deal that there's enough meat on the bone, unless it's just a simple slam dunk, easy deal. But if it involves a lot, then you need to be paid for your value. And look at what they would be faced with if they had to hire an agent or sell it themselves. So more creative deals. I see creative deals everywhere. With prices stagnating and some of the problems, I think people are more open to it, and that's a good thing. But we see a lot of creative deals if it's positioned correctly anywhere we go. I've not seen less. And actually more, and I'm starting to do more of it in the commercial space in multifamily, which typically you do not see a lot of. So that's kind of new territory, which is very exciting.
100%, 100%. And Carolina also mentioned, as far as networking with other wholesalers, local real estate investment associations, local meetups. Definitely a good way to meet more wholesalers as well. So thank you, Carolina, for that. All right.
I will say about California, though, and anybody who works out here will know this, the PITI to rent and cash flow ratio is tighter than other states. So while there's a lot of deals, sometimes they're going to be a little bit more tougher to cash flow because the prices are so darn high. You don't see houses less than 500,000 here. That's entry level. But the rents are still 3,000 or 4,000, so you're going to get some compression there. So you have to be very creative in your underwriting to make sure it works. Maybe do a wrap or something like that.
100%, man. I love it. Are you guys getting value out of this? Hope you guys are getting value. Can you drop
They're
off?
asking great questions. They're asking great questions.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm getting hot. I think it's too much heat up in here. I'm getting hot. All right, let me move on. So dispositions is the next business component. So if you're a wholesaler and you have a property in a contract and you want to dispo to find a buyer, we have 4 different items that I'll talk about. One is hedge funds, connect with institutional buyers and get the buy boxes, right? Get the criteria and build a relationship with those hedge funds, right? It's a little bit controversial with hedge funds, right? Because, obviously they're buying up all those single family homes and a lot of people don't like that, right? So to each in his own, right? But hedge funds are cash buyers, right? So we can build relationships with those hedge funds and you can pull them from prop stream, from title. There's a lot of different ways to pull the hedge funds, right? Or even Google search it, right? Next is reverse engineer. So reverse engineer. So you have a property in the contract. Remember I said work harder. Work smarter, not I said it backwards, right? Work smarter, not harder, right? So simply reverse engineer the type of property that you have under contract. Is it a good fit for short-term rentals, Airbnbs? Is it a good fit for mid-term rentals? Is it a good fit for long-term rentals? Is it a good fit for assisted living? Is it a good fit for sober living? Is it a fit for veteran housing? Think about that. And then work your way backwards. For example, Airbnb. If it's a good fit for Airbnb based on the numbers, you can go on Airbnb and search that market and contact the host in that market, right? And say, hey, I have a property in your area that I think would be a good fit for Airbnb. Would you like to take a look, right? And that's free. You don't have to pay the skip trace that, right? And you can see who the super host. You can see how many listings they have as well, right? So that data is publicly available, right? Long-term rentals, contact property managers in the area, right? And see if they have any investor clients that might be willing to buy more properties, right? What else is there? It's just living, right? Every state has a website with the list of licensed facilities in that state, right? So if you have a property that you think might be a good fit for assisted living, you can literally go on the government website and get all of the licensed facilities and phone number in that city or area. So all that data is publicly available. And another one, for Airbnb, I forgot this too. For Airbnb, in certain markets that have a short-term rental ordinance, or regulations for Airbnb, they have a list of all of the Airbnbs in that city and their address, right? So you have all of the licensed Airbnbs in that market and the address. So you can simply look at that address, skip tracing, and call them. Some of them actually have the phone number or email. Some states have the phone number, email, right? So what I'm trying to say is, reverse engineer. Think about what property you have, and think about, okay, if this property is a good fit for Airbnb, as an Airbnb host, where would I be, right? And you think of different ways to find those people. All right, so moving on. Next is poor cash buyers. Oh, someone raised their hand. Okay. You have a question, James? Go ahead, James. You got the mic. Just have to unmute yourself. Oh, he texted me, Richard. So James texted me the question. Okay, James,
Can you hear me? Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Sorry, I'm having a little difficult. Okay. Okay, now can you see me? Hello.
I can
The
see.
question, Richard, my question was, if you could back it up about the hedge funds. I tried finding hedge funds, but I'm not getting any success. Can you maybe elaborate on the wording when you're searching for a hedge fund?
Yeah, so honestly, the best way I find hedge funds is you have access to PropStream or Batch Leads or anything like that.
Well, I went to some, I don't have them in front of me. I got piles of papers here. SDR3 or something. I tried reaching out to them, but no one ever responded. It was a couple days ago.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big hedge fund. Yeah, that's a big problem with hedge funds, is that a lot of them don't respond, right? They're big companies, they don't have time for, new relationships and things like that, right? So you really have to put an extra effort to build relationships with those hedge funds. So what I was gonna say was, for PropStream, you can find hedge funds by searching for cash buyers or owners of properties who own more than X amount of properties. So what you can do is, you type in a zip code or you type in a city, and you filter for owners who have more than 100 properties or more than 50 properties. And
Oh, okay. I noticed that. Thank you. Yeah, it never registered because I see the laundry list of some houses. How in the world can this person own 100 houses?
right, exactly. Those are all hedge funds, and a lot of times, it's part of a holding company, right? So you see the ownership be, I don't know, SDR3 or whatever it is, one,
Yeah, right.
and then two, and then three, right? So they all bubbled up into a holding company. But yeah, PropStream is a great source for finding hedge funds. Just look for owners in a certain market that own at least 25, 40, 50 properties, 100 properties.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I've got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Of course, of course. And as far as building a relationship with those hedge funds, what I personally like to do is I like to go on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a great source as well. A lot of people are sleeping. So LinkedIn is a professional website. A lot of acquisition specialists at hedge funds have a profile on LinkedIn. So you can do is, you can look up that hedge fund company, type it in LinkedIn, go to people, and search for acquisition or specialists, and try to find the employees at that hedge fund that might be the best source for you to, basically build a relationship and send them leads. Right. So LinkedIn is a great way. So if you buy LinkedIn Premium, you can reach out to those people. So that's a great way as well. If they're not reaching out, if they're not responding to your phone calls on the website, LinkedIn is a great way. You can use AI to kind of create the emails for you, or send multiple in one day. You send 10, 20, 30 emails a day, you have a higher chance of getting a response from those hedge funds versus one email or one phone call, right? So if you find 10, 15, 20 acquisition specialists for that hedge fund, and you email them all on LinkedIn, you have a great chance of building that relationship, So, all right, awesome. I think somebody else had the hand raised. Or no? Okay, so I'll move on in case. So the next one is cash buyers. So I kind of touched on that already when I was talking about the hedge funds. So yeah, on PV, prop stream, title companies, you can find active investors who have bought multiple properties recently. So yeah, if I have property in Miami, for example, I can contact the title company and have them send me a list of investors who bought a property in that area. What I like to do is I like to find investors who have multiple properties and have bought recently, right? So that's something I really, really look out for. Okay, the question was answered. Okay, perfect. Oh, okay, you're back. All right, what you got, Tariq?
I think he's good.
I think he raised his hand again. Right now.
I think he answered it.
Okay, all right, no problem. Sorry. Next one is third-party dispo tools. So if you have a property in the contract, you can post deals on Investor Lift, ISP Lead, and other emerging platforms to access a large pool of buyers. Okay, he does have a question. Okay, go ahead. Are you able to unmute, Tariq? So while he's coming on, I'll answer Adriana's question. Will title companies give you a list just like that? Yes, if you build a relationship with that title company, absolutely. I recommend if it's local to you, visit that title company's office and bring coffee, bring donuts, you name it, and just build a relationship. And,
Close deals.
Yeah. All right, awesome. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Hey, Richard. Look forward to hopefully seeing you guys next week at the meetup here in SoCal. But on the title company front, when you reach out to them, is there a specific person you're usually going after to talk to obtain those lists?
Yeah, it's just simply the escrow officer, or title agent. It's all about who you build a relationship with, really. If you worked with that title company before, most likely they'll be willing to give you the list, right? If it's a cold outreach to a title company, it might be a little bit difficult, right? So your best chance is with a title company that you've worked with previously, or closed one deal with. So if the title company so if you're looking in a new market and you haven't looked at that title company before, I would still call them and say, hey, I'm doing a lot of deals here in my local market, but I'm expanding to your market and wanting to do more deals with you and your title company, doing more business to your title company. I was just wondering if you have, a list of cash buyers in your market that might be willing to buy some of the deals that have off market discounted. Just kind of see what I said, right? I'm leading with value. Like I can bring more business to them, right? By bringing more deals to them if they can provide that cash buyer list, right? And that way, and I'm also establishing my credibility by saying I already have my network here. I'm doing deals here in Southern California or wherever I am, and I'm expanding. I'm expanding to your market, and I'm looking for title companies to work with.
Got it. Great. Thanks.
You're welcome, man. I'll see you next week, brother. I'm excited.
Oh my God, Warren Christopher's here. Oh wow.
Yeah, a lot of great people in here.
Yeah.
All right, Mitch, you're up next. Marketing.
Marketing and branding. Okay. What is marketing and branding? Well, it's obviously the things you've always thought about, be present and be visible, be in many places, doing this often, social media and all of that. But if you think about it, we're not Fortune 500 companies. Most of us are individuals working out of our home doing this. So we are the brand. We are the entity that we are marketing. So everywhere you can, celebrate your wins on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Craigslist, whatever, LinkedIn. Share your learning opportunities. That's a nice way to say if things didn't go the way you wanted to. Share what you learned about that. Also, acknowledge your team. Always acknowledge your team and those who support you. Obtain seller and partner testimonials. Every time I close a deal or work with someone, I get a testimonial from them, either written or video. Collect that, post it out there so people see who you are. Because if you think about it, you're essentially marketing yourself. You're marketing your character, your moral compass, how well you work with others, which is very important, a skill in putting a deal together. And if you are doing bad things, it will catch up to you. It always does. We talk about this is a big community, but a very small community. Not a lot doesn't get by. So if people are doing dishonest things or they're just very difficult to work with, it gets out there. So be the person that everyone wants to work with. And also another thing is, everyone looks great when the deal is going really, really well, but not all deals go well. People are going to watch you when the deal is going south. How do you respond? How do you react to people? Do you keep your cool? And that's really, really important. And it's how you handle that deal, which shows your leadership and your character. So always do the right thing and the good thing when no one's looking. Another thing we see in this business, unfortunately, there are people that are just dishonest. Your word, the way Rich and I think is your word is your bond. You promise it, you honor it, whatever it takes. Again, be a supportive team member, talk about your character, and be the person that others want to work with. And you'll be surprised how many people, come up to you and say, "Hey, I heard about you from so-and-so." That's where we get most of our leads. We don't have to pull lists because so many people come to us. "Hey, I heard you did a deal with so-and-so. You're a great guy to work with. I want to JV with you." So again, make it easier for yourself. Go overboard. It will come back to you. And always I ask the question, are you the kind of person that you would want to work with? That's important. Rich, what's your takes on marketing and branding?
Yeah, marketing and branding. Yep.
And anything you want to add to that?
No, that was really good. I think branding is very important. People need to know who you are, and kind of get a sense of who you are behind the scenes as well. So I think that posting social media is great. I'll be honest, I don't do it enough. I don't do it a lot. I'm a very low-key person. But my partners tell me I gotta post more. I just have my head down, I'll be grinding, just be on the computer all day, doing some AI stuff and working. But my partners always try to remind me I have to post more on social media. There's so much that people can learn from me and others as well. So yeah, marketing branding is very, very, very important. So I love that.
Okay.
All right, how to get your first deal? Mr. One, top three.
Beautiful. How to get your first deal. We get a lot of new students call us up saying, "I'm completely lost. How do I start?" We always tell people network and connect. Join if you're in the mentorship, there are regional accountability groups across the country. Rich and I run the Southern Cal group. If you're in the mentorship, join your group. If you're not in the mentorship, completely fine. There are typically meetups just about in every single city. So go to Creative Investors, Creative Finance with Pace Morby, and look for the meetups. Go to the meetups. Rich and I are doing a meetup next week, our monthly meetup in Los Angeles. I think we've got over 130 people already registered. This is a people business. It's a JV and partner business. You got to get out there and mix it up and meet people to partner with. So the more you can get out there, I mean, that's how Rich and I met. We met at a meetup, and it was history from there. So get out there, network and connect. Post in the different groups. You've got the free group here, got over 150,000 people. Talk about what your skills are, what you're looking to do, who'd like to work with you. I'm basically a shy person myself, like Rich. You just got to do it. Get out there and do it. Call agents and brokers. That's more of what I do. I call agents and brokers. My theory is they're the ones talking to sellers all day. So that's my virtual sales force. I don't have to pull lists anymore. I tell them what I'm looking for. So I connect with what we call unicorn agents and brokers. Unicorn agents mean agents that understand creative finance and are happy to work with us because we can bring value that others can't. So connect with them, call listings, expired listings, active listings. Tell the agent or the seller who you are, what you do, what value you can bring, and just keep networking. This is the business we're in. It's a networking and JV partnership business.
Absolutely, I love it. So thank you, Mitch. So next is pulling lists and calling, right? So target for closures, tax delinquent, probate, absentee owners. That's a lot of manual work, right? But it's really efficient, right? So if you target stack lists and work smarter, not harder, like I said, look after highly motivated paying lists. Okay. Next is JV and partner up. Kind of Mitch touched on that a little bit earlier. Work with experienced investors, call the leads, learn and earn, right? So we JV with everyone in the subject community. We JV people outside of the subject community. We JV with agents. Mitch and I have a lot of experience with creative finance. We've been in sub for 5 years, almost 5 years now. This May will be 5 years. So we have a lot of expertise, and we've seen it all. We've seen all kinds of deals, sub to hybrid, seller finance, lease options, novations. There's so many. So we're here to help you guys, and help you close more deals. So next is stay consistent. Yes, that's the most important thing, I think, over everything else. Stay consistent. I can't stress that enough. Set daily goals, take action, and never stop learning. Discipline is something that really stick with me. Discipline is really important, and that's part of consistency, right? People talk about motivation. Motivation is temporary, right? You can watch a video online, we'll go to some webinar, we'll go to some real estate event, and be motivated. Be motivated for about a week, and then you lose the motivation, right? So motivation is very temporary, right? Whereas consistency and discipline, that's permanent, right? If you're disciplined, you get it done every single day, no matter what happens, right? So it's really important to stay disciplined and do whatever you need to do to get disciplined. Okay, so find out your why, find out your purpose, whatever it is that you need to figure out for yourself to become consistent and disciplined. And my man, Marlon Johnson, mindset is really important when it comes to that. So Marlon, shout out to Marlon. He's the best guy when it comes to mindset. So always be consistent and be disciplined.
Carolina Allen said it perfectly. Surround yourself with action takers and battle buddies to hold you accountable. Because look, let's be honest. There are going to be days where you don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to pick up a phone and talk to anybody. But if I know Rich Knowles is counting on me to do something, I'm going to do it. I owe it to him. So absolutely, Carolina, great comment. Action takers. And Rich, you want to touch on action takers versus talkers? Because we see a lot of that.
I love it. Oscar, my man Oscar has a question. He asks, how can AI help a business? I kind of touched on that, man. You came in late, brother. You came in late. But yeah, AI can automate a lot of the work that we do, a lot of manual work. You can use voice AI to handle inbound leads. People calling your business phone number. They can set appointments for you. There's so much AI can do. It's really a blue ocean, really, what AI can do. AI can generate leads for you. AI can scrape county records and import the leads into another source or website or software tool. You can have automations or triggers run after a certain event happens. AI can follow up for you. There's so much AI can do, man. It's insane. One thing that's hot right now is AI agents. So AI agents, you can think of it as employees in the business, right? You can train an AI agent to do things for you, right? You can have an AI agent be a dispo agent. You can have an AI agent be an acquisitions agent. You can have an AI agent be a researcher, right? And basically you create a role or responsibility for them, and you train them how to do the role, same way you would a VA, a virtual assistant, and they will do the job for you, believe it or not. So AI is game changing. So don't sleep on that, man. Don't sleep on that. All right. All right. Next, do a case study. So this is the last slide that we have. I actually have 2 case studies, but I'll just pick one of the 2. Let me see, Inglewood or Arizona. What do you guys want? Can you put in chat? Should I do California or Arizona? Because we only have time for 1 case study. All right, got California. All right. California. Okay, California it is. All right, so, all right, California in the building. I love it. I love it. Go Lakers. I don't know what's up with that trade. Anthony Davis for Luka. Anyway, that's another topic. So Inglewood, California. So this is a deal that we did last year, actually. I think it was November of last year or something like that. But basically the seller was, so I'll go through the story, the problem, and then I'll explain the solution. Finance was a perfect solution for the seller's problem. So the problem was that the seller had a long commute to work every single day, right? So the house was in Inglewood, I think it's about maybe a mile or a mile and a half from our SoFi Stadium. For those of you that don't know, SoFi Stadium is a big stadium where the Rams play, a lot of concerts happen. The Olympics will be there, all that kind of stuff, right? So a lot of events happen there. So it's a very, very hot area. So the seller purchased the property for $950,000 in 2022, just as interest rates were rising. And the seller wanted to sell the home, but they didn't have a lot of equity. So that means that if he were to sell the property on the market with the MLS with the realtor, after commissions and closing costs, he was going to have to write a check to sell the home. Right. So we said, okay, we can help you. By the way, this lead came from an agent, by the way, an agent who's a part of Pace Mobile community. So he reached out to us and said, hey, can we help this seller? Right. So we said, yeah, sure. So what we can do is we can take over the mortgage subject too. So we took over the mortgage of $897,472. It had an interest rate of 5.25% interest rate. Not the best interest rate, but still lower than current rates right now, right? We're looking at 6-7% right now, right? So, but mind you, is a hot area, right? So 5.25 interest rate is pretty good for that, for that time. So we gave the sellers at closing escrow. So instead of them writing a check to sell the home, if they put it on the market themselves and sold it with a traditional offer and had to pay an agent 3% commissions and pay some closing costs, they got $30,000 at closing escrow, which is amazing. So we assigned that deal to an assisted living business for $15,000. So we got paid $15,000 to assign it to a company with my boy Jason Santos, who's also in sub 2 as well. We work together on assisted living properties as well. So we assigned it to him and the company for $15,000, and Jason and the company is converted it to assisted living property to generate substantial cash flow and also positively impact the community. I love that. That's what I love about real estate. You can have a positive impact on the community. Creating affordable housing, helping the elderly, all that kind of stuff, right? The veterans, all that stuff. And also the JV partner, the JV partner agent who submitted the lead got paid $20,000 just for submitting the lead to us. All right, so it's a win-win-win for everybody. The seller got paid $30K instead of writing the check. We got paid $15,000. Jason got a great property at 5.25% interest rate, and the JV partner got paid $20,000. So that's a sweet deal, right? Sweet deal. So that's the beauty of creative finance, creating win-win-win situations and solving problems. So thankfully, sub 2 with Pace Morby, this has been tremendous and created more tools in our tool belt. It made us much more versatile. So that's pretty much the case study, and that's really it. That's the end of our presentation. Just want to thank you guys so much for being on with us, and I've seen so many familiar faces in the chat. Juliet, Kevin, Rose, Oscar, so many different people in the chat. Moses. So I appreciate Carolina. I appreciate all you guys. So if you guys want to reach out to us, my Instagram is Richard Knowles. Mitch is Mitch Roye. And our website is creativeinvestors.com, where you can submit your JV leads. And we would like to collaborate with you, consult with you, and do more deals together. We are buying 4+ bedrooms, 2+ bathroom, single-story homes in Southern California for assisted living. So if you guys have anything, please feel free to submit it to us, and let's do deals together. All right, that's it.
Alex, do we have a few minutes for some Q&A?
First of all, I just want to call out how thorough this presentation was. My goodness, thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time to answer questions throughout your presentation as well. And just to be conscientious of everybody's time, I'm probably going to wrap it up here pretty soon. But seriously, oh my goodness, this was so, so great. And if you are watching today, really felt like you got a lot of value out of the entire presentation, feel free to email me. My email is alexandra@pacemorby.com, and I will send you the replay of this video because I know that it was like very jam-packed with information. So especially if you're just getting your feet wet into the real estate realm, studying this presentation, figuring out the ways that you can get better connected, whether that be through the Facebook group or JVing with Mitch and Rich, that would be super, super awesome. I'd love to connect with you on that as well. If you are wanting a little bit more hand-holding and you kind of want to hear directly from Pace as well, I know he's been such an inspiration for Rich and Mitch. So if you want a little taste of that as well, I know Pace is actually doing a free live webinar on February 19th. So I'll go ahead and drop that link in there as well, kind of how to get your first deal. He'll go a little bit more in depth on those steps as well, and kind of give you a little insight into the No One Left Behind challenge as well within the Sub2 community. Cool. And I'll go ahead and send my email in the chat as well. But please, I hope you all took down Richard's and Mitch's contact information as well, because they're definitely raring to connect.
And Alex, thank you again. And I want to thank everybody who joined us here today. We appreciate you and your interest and your attention. Appreciate you all very much. Looking forward to getting to know you. And those of you out in California, come on out to our meetup in West Hollywood, our monthly meetup next week at the Mondrian. That's always a good one.
All right. So for those of you all listening, are there any closing thoughts that Rich or Mitch you'd like to leave our audience with this evening?
I would just say, like I said before, just, be consistent, no matter what you're doing, be consistent and be disciplined. That's how you become successful. All these, successful people, they were consistent every single day. So just be consistent. That's really the most important thing out of everything that we've shared today. Be consistent. So that's
another thing I would say for newbies do this a lot. I did it when I started. They won't take step one unless they know step 2, 3, and 4. But a lot of times you will not know step 2, 3, and 4. You got to take step one when you don't know step 2. As Pace says, I'm going to quote Pace, fail forward, take action. This business, this is not rocket science. It's a very simple business. It's just action. And the more you do it, it's going to get easier. Face your fears, walk through the fire if you need it. Rich and I will hold your hand. We will walk through the fire with you. That's what we like doing.
I love that. Yeah, Pace has just created such a community of go-givers. And so it was such a pleasure being able to see that in the both of you, Rich and Mitch. And I hope if you are in SoCal, you are attending that in-person meetup, because that is really powerful connection time, especially. And then maybe, if you find yourself in Texas, you can attend the Squat Up Summit. Cool, cool. All right. With that, I will bid everyone adieu. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.